Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Over the years, I've advised and assisted hundreds of different types of businesses with their market entry into the UAE. Businesses from places like the UK, Europe, the US, who want to expand internationally and establish commercial operations in the Middle East. And Dubai is usually one of their top choices for doing that, with it being one of the major cities of the UAE and a thriving regional business hub. And often when I'm advising them, a common question that comes up somewhere or another is, what is a trade license? Now, for anyone that's looking to do business or engage in commercial activities from Dubai or anywhere across the UAE, they will need to know what a trade license is, simply because they're likely to need one. So in this video, I'm going to give you a quick overview on this, which will hopefully provide you with a useful reference point and will also give you an understanding of what exactly a trade license is. If you're new to this channel, let me give you a quick introduction. I'm Yusuf, an international lawyer with a background in commercial law. I split my time between Dubai and the UK, working with clients from all over the world. On this channel, I try to share content that's generally related to my various interests in law, business, and sport. A trade license is a legal document that's issued by a licensing authority in the UAE, typically at the time when a new commercial enterprise is established within the country. Now, that could be an entirely brand new business venture, or it could be a new enterprise that's linked or connected to an existing business. A trade license, when it's issued, permits its holder to conduct certain commercial activities from within the country. In other words, it's a license to trade, and the commercial activities that are permitted, these will be set out and listed on a trade license itself. For anyone that's involved in any type of business or commercial activity from the country, they are required to have a valid trade license in place that covers their commercial activities. This applies to both individuals and corporate entities, all enterprises, big or small. Having a valid trade license is an essential legal compliance aspect for every enterprise that is operating from the country. Individuals can obtain a trade license in their own personal name if that's how their enterprise is structured. Alternatively, it's commonly obtained by a corporate entity like a limited liability company. As well as it being necessary from a legal compliance point of view, it's also considered to be necessary to help ensure that a business is operating within the law in a proper and credible manner. You can think of it like a trade license being the necessary legal authorization to carry out and conduct certain commercial activities from the country. Having a valid trade license not only makes your business operations legal, but it also serves as a prerequisite for other business-related practicalities, like, for example, opening bank accounts, dealing with immigration and applying for visas, entering contracts, etc. So for these various reasons, it's necessary for all enterprises operating from the country to have a valid trade license in place. There are various licensing authorities in the UAE that grant and issue trade licenses to commercial enterprises. Which licensing authority you get your trade license from will depend on whether the enterprise is established on what is known as the mainland, or on the other hand, whether it's established in one of the country's many free zones. Now, I've covered the topic of mainland and free zones in some of my previous videos, so if you're unfamiliar with any of these terms, then maybe have a look at those videos for some further information if required. Right, so each city or emirate within the country has its own government agency that goes by the name Department of Economic Development, or DED for short, which grants trade licenses to businesses that are established on the mainland. There are also numerous free zones all across the UAE, and these are basically specially designated geographical areas that have been set up to encourage commerce and inward investment into the country. And each of these free zones are considered to be separate jurisdictions with their own regulatory framework. In other words, they each have their own set of rules. And these free zones grant and issue trade licenses to businesses that choose to establish and be based in a free zone. Now, just as a side note, the UAE has a few offshore jurisdictions where enterprises can be established. Now, these are places that are geographically within the country, but for all intents and purposes are considered to be outside of the country's business landscape. Enterprises that are established in one of these offshore jurisdictions in the UAE aren't issued with a trade license for the simple reason that those enterprises aren't considered to be operating from within the country, but rather are offshore. And I just wanted to mention this point because some of these offshore jurisdictions can be a popular choice for some folk as part of their corporate structuring strategies. And some of my clients, for example, have set up companies in these jurisdictions, but they often need to be informed that there's no trade license issued in such cases. And I think it's a point worth mentioning. As I mentioned earlier, a trade license will typically be issued at the time when a new commercial enterprise is established within the country. And so it needs to be applied for at the time of setting up the new enterprise. Before applying, the first step is to properly identify the main commercial activities that the enterprise will be involved in. This determination will help to narrow down on the type of license that's needed because there are different types. And this will also help to determine where the best place is to establish the enterprise and get the required trade license. Now, it's an important step too, because the main commercial activities will need to be selected and these will then be set out on the trade license. So it needs to be done right so that it aligns with the day-to-day business and its operations. Once you've identified the best place to establish the new enterprise where you can also get the trade license that you need, the next step is to submit an application to the licensing authority. Now, this process will involve submitting various documents, meeting certain legal requirements, obtaining any approvals if necessary, and paying the relevant fees. Some of the documents that will typically be needed as part of the application process will include a completed application form together with passport copies of the owners, shareholders, a proposed trade name, a business plan, and sometimes proof of capital can be required as well. After it's granted and issued, a trade license is usually valid for 1 year and then will need to be renewed annually. In certain free zones, sometimes they run promotions whereby you can get a trade license with a validity that's longer than 1 year, and they'll give you a discount based on paying upfront for consecutive years validity. They're sometimes called multi-year licenses. Maintaining a trade license by keeping it valid will be essential as part of complying with the UAE's regulatory framework. And as well as that, the enterprise will, of course, need to comply with other regulatory aspects too, like around immigration and visas, financial reporting, taxation, labour laws, and various other such compliance aspects. Not maintaining the validity of a trade license or failing to properly cancel it when it's no longer required, that will usually be considered as non-compliance and it can result in fines and penalties. So it's important that once you've got it, you remember to diarise its renewal or formal cancellation, whatever the case may be, well in advance. So that's it for this one, guys, in terms of a general overview, and I hope it's a useful reference point for you. To summarize, obtaining a trade license, it's a fundamental and essential step for anyone who's looking to establish any kind of enterprise in the UAE, and having an understanding of what it is, why it's necessary, how to get one and maintain it. All of that should hopefully help from a compliance perspective. And at the same time, Having that understanding can hopefully help to unlock and tap into the commercial opportunities that are available in the vibrant Dubai UAE market. And finally, if you'd like to learn more about doing business in Dubai or across the UAE, then this video over here will give you a good introduction to that. Thanks a lot for watching this one, and see you again soon.